Thank you, Leah, for being here this morning. Can you tell everyone your full name and how do you help clients?
So my full name is Leah Julie Michelle Dean. So all across my social media, I am Leah J.M. Dean. J is Julie. That was my mom's name. And then I asked her, well, why Michelle? And she said, I don't know, it just sounded beautiful when you said it together. So there you have it, Leah Julie Michelle Dean. And my platform is really about tribes. So I really am looking to help women and girls unleash their unique value, redefine their female tribe, and reimagine how they show up in the world. So that's kind of my overarching vision. And then one of my specialties is really working with women in leadership and helping them to navigate those early stages of leadership and what their leadership brand and philosophy is. So it's my background is HR and leadership. So those are the two areas where I spend most of my time.
Awesome. I was looking on your bio and it said that you have this book called Assemble the Tribe. What exactly is that? And can you talk a little bit more about it?
So, Assemble the Tribe is a book that I released last year. And a little bit of a funny story. I produce women's and girls events. And so, I think it was 2018, January to be exact, I produced an event. I finished up the event, came home. It was about 3 a.m. in the morning, 2, 3 a.m. by the time I fell asleep. And at 5, I was just back up again. And I was annoyed because I love to sleep. And something just kept saying, go sit down at the computer, go sit down at the computer. So finally, after about 30, 40 minutes, I went and I sat down at the computer. And an hour later, I had an outline for a book. And so for me, when I talk about Assemble the Tribe, I say that in many ways, I think it was divinely inspired. And it really started out as a journey for me to help women create these strong, powerful bonds as a means of kind of accelerating their personal and professional lives. Because to this point, I had a group of women that were part of my network for about 20 years, and it was just such a powerful thing. I thought if I could just teach women how to do this, then I would have achieved something. But what's really beautiful, one of the things about writing is you have to live it before you can write it. And the book kind of shifted from this very clear focus on just helping women with the process and the tools to create tribes to really redefining what a tribe was across so many dimensions. And so, just to give you some insight, when you think about the word tribe, even as I was writing the book, it is a word that's complicated. You know, you only have to turn on the news where they're talking about ranked tribalism and people retreating into their tribes. And so I wasn't sure that I actually wanted to use the word. But the more I studied the history of the word, the etymology of the word, I realized that the word is actually perfect because for all its complications, and I go through all of that detail in the book, for all of that complication, as human beings, we are complex, right? And so I ended up kind of writing my own definition of the word. And one of the things that I say is a tribe is complex people with similar values, beliefs, and interests who choose to come together in various ways to create relationships. So I went from thinking that a tribe was just this small group of girlfriends to thinking about tribe in a much broader sense that that we're complex, that we have to do the work to create something, and that there's a connection that we need to create as part of the process. So it's been quite a journey, let's put it that way. Tribe is a group, but it's only one type of group. It's so much broader than that.
Gotcha. You and I, we met on Clubhouse. What do you love most about Clubhouse? And would you call Clubhouse sort of a tribe?
Now you're talking my language. So the thing that I love the most about Clubhouse is the fluidity of the connection. There's no hierarchy, there's no barriers. It's just people who want to come together because remember I said people with similar interests or values. They're coming together to help accelerate something about their personal or professional life. And for me, there's nothing more beautiful than seeing that happen. Like, I just jumped off a Clubhouse conversation with a group of women around the art of negotiation, and how women should negotiate. And by the time I left, I was only there for 20 minutes, but we had come up with like a formula for how to negotiate. And so those are real practical tools that women can now take into their day to day lives. And I just love the fact that on Clubhouse, people are having these aha moments and shifting and accelerating all day, every day, as much time as they have to spend on the platform. So I like it.
How much time would you say do you spend on Clubhouse, since it can be a little addicting in the beginning?
So I tend to be more structured with my time, and it is quite addicting. And so I've kind of created some boundaries for myself so that I have time to invest in, my life and all of my tribes. But I spend probably about 3 to 5 hours a week. There's the group that I just talked about. I try to pop in there on a regular basis. I have another group that I do some spiritual studies with, and then I try to make time thinking about what's happening in my life or my business. I kind of have a random hour where I will go in and just see what's happening at that time. So I tend to use it to either connect with some of my existing tribes, and then to support my business and my work, which is how you and I met, because I popped into a room on podcast pitching.
Very true. Speaking about your business, how have you generated leads for your business by being on Clubhouse?
So personally, I haven't generated a ton of leads just yet. What I've done is I've created the connection. And what I find is, because I'm still kind of building my platform, and thinking about how I can use it in my business. In fact, I'm in the process of, planning something at the moment. But what I am using it for right now is the opportunity to speak and talk about my message and make connections. And typically, what I find is if I go into a room and I speak, and then I go in the next day and look at my followers, it's inching up, or I'll see some movement on my Instagram profile, which then creates the opportunity for me to talk to people about the things that I'm passionate about. So I see it I see the potential, and I'm just kind of slowly weaving it into my my journey so that I can unlock its full potential. But I know that's something that you feel passionate about too.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, what cool connections have you made since being on the app?
I had, well, one, I'm connected to you, and Raven, of course, who is in the club pod, and you guys are fantastic. I'm also a little bit of an eclectic follower, so there's like a really world-renowned DEI expert, some leadership experts that I follow. There's a supermodel who's on there that I follow. But the way that I use Clubhouse, it's less about, this is just me personally, it's less about following specific people and more about what is it that I need for my life or my business, and I zero in on the clubs and or the people that can help me grow in those areas. So
I love it. Absolutely. What's one tip you could give somebody who is just jumping on the platform to help them to be successful?
I would say think about what it is that you would like to focus on, because I think when you go in and you have to complete, here are all of my interests, like there's a tendency to check everything. And for me, I've actually gone back in and unchecked a few things so that my feed starts to reflect whatever is most important to me at that moment. And so that's just been something that's been helpful for me, so that when I'm going in for that hour that I've set aside to just browse, I'm browsing efficiently. And that's really cool. And then also just to encourage other people to come into the conversations, because the more people that are in the room, I get all day, I'll get pings from people, hey, come have this conversation with us. and then encouraging others. Not only does it help the rooms that you're in, but it provides support to the folks that you're asking to join those conversations.
So true. Do you enjoy the smaller rooms or the larger rooms?
I'm agnostic. There's something about the intimacy of a small room where people tend to feel more open to chat. You'll see more folks coming up on the stage with regularity. But in the big rooms, like I said, there isn't any hierarchy. So I've never felt like, ooh, I couldn't come up and talk and speak. I mean, I'm pretty relaxed talking anyway. But that is something that I've enjoyed, and I just think it really just depends on the person. But I do find with some of the smaller groups that I've gone to, you find folks coming back again and again, and then they get really comfortable with talking. So when I think about building a tribe that's sustainable, you're starting with the smaller groups, you start to see some real cohesion, which is nice to watch.
That is very nice. Now, Leah, where can people find you online?
So I am everywhere in terms of social media. My preferred platforms are Instagram and LinkedIn, and you can also find me on Clubhouse. I'm going to start really trying to ramp up there. I also have a website, which is www.leahjmdean.com, and I have a book website, which is www.assemblethetribe.com.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being here today, Leah, and we will see you in Clubhouse.
Thank you so much for having me. See you there.